Awkward SpongeBob errors that Nickelodeon missed. SpongeBob has been Nickelodeon's flagship series for many years now. You'd think that by now the network would have perfected the art of episode creation. However, some awkward errors have been revealed over the years. But before we get started, make sure to hit that like button so we know who the real SpongeBob fans are. Lost and Found. This episode is from season 10 and takes place when Mr. Krabs asks SpongeBob to search for a missing toy in the Lost and Found. Though before long, SpongeBob finds himself lost in the Lost and Found. The series introduced us to several new characters, though it also displayed several errors during creation. In one scene, SpongeBob hears a child crying. He is holding a Krabby Patty in his hands with the lettuce placed on top of the meat. However, just a few frames later, the camera pans back to the sponge and the patty now has lettuce on the bottom and meat on top. This is a pretty small error, but it's interesting to see how the creators goofed on such a small detail. A short time later, SpongeBob and the child are seen standing next to some condiments. Though once again, a few frames later, these condiments magically disappear. One of the more noticeable errors in this episode popped up when it was localized for the German market. The episode was supposed to be titled The Getaway. However, when the episode was released, the title card proudly read, Escape the Driver. We aren't too sure what this title was referring to, but it seems as though it was likely a translation issue. When the episode aired a second time a month later, the title card had been fixed and correctly read, The Getaway. Patrick's Coupon. This episode takes place immediately after Lost and Found or The Getaway, depending on your region. The episode tells the story of Patrick, who has a coupon for free ice cream. However, when he decides to redeem the free ice cream coupon, he learns that it has expired. Thus, he must make his way to the Ice Cream King for a chance at getting a free ice cream. Regardless of the expiration status, this was an interesting episode, as Patrick was the main character of this storyline, rather than SpongeBob. Though it's interesting to see that Nickelodeon made several errors in this episode as well, immediately after making some pretty major errors in Lost and Found. In one scene, we see Patrick getting defensive with another Bikini Bottom resident, shouting at her, "Oh, I see you, peeking at my coupon, it's for SpongeBob's ice cream." As he shouts this at the resident, you can see the Krusty Krab in the background, though the Krusty Krab's signature flags are mysteriously missing from this scene. As the episode continues, we get a glimpse of an even bigger problem. When Patrick arrives at the ice cream shop, several of the fish are seen sitting down, though there are no chairs beneath them. The animators legitimately forgot to add chairs into the scene. So many of the fish are in a sitting position, yet they are floating in mid-air, or mid-water, we aren't sure which. This was a pretty critical mistake. Chocolate with nuts. This episode is one of the most memorable of all time. The episode follows SpongeBob and Patrick as they try to sell chocolate bars to the residents of Bikini Bottom. Throughout the episode, they repeatedly encounter a con man as well as a crazed citizen who is mad about chocolate, though this series has its fair share of errors as well. Many more errors than other episodes. The production of this episode had been outsourced to Korea, so it's possible that some of these mistakes were the result of poor translation, as is true with the first error. In the title card of the episode, we see a chocolate bar alongside a phrase, chocolate with nuts. The chocolate bar is listed as 1.75 ounces, transcribing to 67 grams. However, if you do the math, 1.75 ounces equates to 50 grams. The fun doesn't stop there though, as SpongeBob and Patrick are running away from Tom, the crazed citizen who continually yells, "Chocolate!" We see them leave their bags of chocolate behind and run for safety. However, in the very next scene, they have their bags with them as they are running. It's a pretty minor mistake, but interesting nonetheless. A couple of additional errors in this episode involve Tom as well, such as the scene where he says his famous line, "Did you say chocolate?" In the first shot from this scene, his eyes are yellow and his tongue is red. However, in the very next clip, his eyes are green and his tongue is pink. Another somewhat small error takes place when the two approach an elderly woman's door. As Mary speaks to her decaying mother, the camera pans back to SpongeBob and Patrick. In this shot, we can see that SpongeBob's pores are mysteriously missing. There's also a strangely colored pink spot where Patrick's nose would be. At another point in the episode, one of the bubble transitions plays out while SpongeBob is holding $1 in the air. If you take a close look at the bottom of the frame, you can see a blue background with the date code that reads 9/14/2001. This was the date that the episode was being animated in Korea, even though it wouldn't be released in America till 2002. Interestingly enough, the copyright date of this episode should have been listed as 2001, though the end credits show the copyright as 2002. Help wanted. This is widely considered to be one of the most popular episodes of all time, largely because it was the first episode ever made. The episode introduces us to SpongeBob, Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and many of the other recurring characters in the series. SpongeBob heads towards the Krusty Krab to apply for a job, though when he arrives, Mr. Krabs makes a ridiculous request and sends SpongeBob on an errand to retrieve a hydrodynamic spatula that doesn't even exist. This was his joking way of telling poor Sponge that he wasn't wanted at the restaurant, though SpongeBob saves both Mr. Krabs and Squidward's life from the anchovies when he returns with the mythical hydrodynamic spatula and cooks Krabby Patties for all the anchovies in the restaurant. He is hired immediately, and the rest is history. The episode is no stranger to mistakes. There are tons of them, but let's begin with the most simple mistake: Stephen Hillenburg's name. As the episode begins, we see the typical credits that are associated with each episode. However, Hillenburg's name is listed as Hillenburg, with the N missing from his last name. Another somewhat small error is seen at the very beginning of the episode, as SpongeBob is admiring the Krusty Krab and explaining how it was his dream to work there. He is standing out front. He can also be seen standing on the sand. However, a split second later, he is standing on the road, though he never moved a muscle. Another reoccurring error can be seen throughout the episode, as we are left to wonder whether it was a simple mistake or if it was a former design choice by the creators that was later removed from the series. We are all aware that SpongeBob wears a white shirt with a red tie and khaki pants. However, throughout the episode, SpongeBob will occasionally be seen wearing a white shirt with a red collar. However, just a few frames later, his collar will once again be white. It is likely that the designers originally planned to give SpongeBob a red collar, but decided to make it white just before the episode's release, with several frames being left red. Another mistake can be seen at the beginning of the episode. Immediately after SpongeBob has left to retrieve his non-existent spatula, when the anchovies pour into the parking lot, we can see that they arrive in 4 separate buses, though a few scenes later there are 5 buses parked outside. Finally, one of the most popular and widely known errors occurs just before the episode ends. When Squidward and Mr. Krabs are seen at the top of the pole in the Krusty Krab, the anchor on Squidward's hat disappears for a few frames, leaving him with nothing but an ordinary white hat. The Legacy of Spongebob. Even though the series has seen many errors and mistakes over the years, Stephen Hillenburg always put his best effort forward to release episodes that fans would want to see. By all means, this series was Stephen's calling in life, and he made sure his fans would be proud of the episodes the network released. Stephen Hillenburg had always been fascinated with ocean and marine life, and these passions helped fuel the characters that he would develop for the series. Stephen worked at the Ocean Institute in California for many years, tossing around the idea of returning to college to earn a master's degree in art. Though when Stephen attended the animation festival, his plans for the future abruptly changed. He had previously been developing SpongeBob characters for a comic series that he hoped to get picked up, but none of the publishing companies were interested in the story. That's when Stephen decided to switch gears and focus more on animation and graphic novels. Stephen soon attended a festival with a short cartoon he had made and screened at the California Institute of Arts. Joe Murray, the creator of Rocko's Modern Life, happened to be at the event and was impressed with Stephen's work. Joe offered Stephen a place on the Nickelodeon team, with Stephen helping to create and direct many of the episodes of the 4th season of Rocko's Modern Life. Stephen soon started working alongside Tom Kenny, who would eventually voice SpongeBob in the animated series. When Stephen was developing the character, he originally planned to name him SpongeBob, with the show being called SpongeBob Ahoy. Though due to legal issues, the name needed to be changed. Stephen settled on SpongeBob, with Tom Kenny later remarking, "Boy, look at that sponge in his square pants," thinking he can get a job at a fast food place. This remark is what led Stephen to create SpongeBob's last name, SquarePants. A 7-minute series pilot was soon created, and the rest, as you know, is history. SpongeBob has been on the air for over 2 decades, with new episodes continually being produced.